The year 2450 marked humanity's 200th anniversary in the Stellar Council. The grand ceremony took place in the massive orbital chambers that housed representatives from over 50 civilizations, spanning 3 galactic arms. The gleaming crystalline hall pulsed with light from a dozen different star types, carefully calibrated to accommodate the various biological needs of its diverse members. Colonel Ethan Rowe stood at rigid attention among Earth's delegation, his military uniform stark against the flowing garments of the other representatives. His weathered face betrayed nothing of his thoughts as he watched Ambassador Elena Chen deliver Earth's formal address of gratitude and commitment to galactic peace. 2 centuries of cooperation, she was saying, her voice echoing through the chamber. 2 centuries of shared knowledge, mutual respect, and collective progress. Rowe's jaw tightened imperceptibly. The words rang hollow to his ears. For all the talk of cooperation and mutual respect, he knew the truth that few humans were permitted to know. Humanity had never truly been accepted as equals. The ceremony droned on, and Rowe's mind drifted to the real reason for his presence at this diplomatic function. Not as a military attaché as his credentials claimed, but as the commander of humanity's most closely guarded secret, a warship of unimaginable power, hidden in the depths of uncharted space, known only to a select few in Earth's highest echelons. The Eclipse, a vessel built not for peace, but as the ultimate insurance policy. As the ceremony concluded, Rowe found himself approached by Zar-Ek, the Arcturian representative whose chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial lights. Colonel Rowe, the alien's translator device conveyed in perfect English, though its mandibles clicked in its native tongue. A pleasure to see Earth's military so well represented at this peaceful gathering. The pleasure is mine, Representative Zar-Ek, Rowe replied with practiced diplomacy. I wonder, the Arcturian continued, if you might share your thoughts on the Council's upcoming resource allocation vote. Earth seems concerned about the proposed adjustments. Rowe maintained his neutral expression. I'm afraid I'm just a soldier. Representative. Policy matters are better directed to our diplomatic corps. The Arcturian's compound eyes seemed to study him intensely. Of course. Though in my experience, Colonel, soldiers often understand the true consequences of political decisions better than diplomats ever could. With a respectful nod, the alien moved on, leaving Rowe with an unsettled feeling. The resource allocation vote was 3 days away, and it wasn't the first time a council member had attempted to probe Earth's position on the matter. Later that evening, in the privacy of Earth's embassy quarters on the station, Rowe met with Ambassador Chen and the rest of the human delegation. They're testing us, Chen said, pacing the secure room. Every conversation, every interaction. They're gauging our reaction to the proposal. Can you blame them? Replied Dr. Ava Nix, the delegation's chief scientific advisor. Her dark eyes flashed with intensity as she spoke. The new allocation would reduce Earth's quantum fuel rights by 30%. Our expansion efforts in the Tau Ceti sector would grind to a halt. Rowe remained silent, watching the debate unfold. As the only person present who knew about the eclipse, he carried a burden the others couldn't comprehend. The vote will pass, Chen said finally. We've run the numbers. The Arcturian-Regelian alliance has secured enough support. And then what? Asked Commander Marcus Thorne, Rowe's second-in-command in the military delegation. We just accept it? Watch our colonial efforts collapse while the Proxima systems get double their current allocation? Chen sighed. We negotiate. We adapt. We find alternative resources. Or, Thorne said, his voice dropping, we show them we won't be pushed around anymore. The room fell silent. It was dangerously close to suggesting military action, something humanity had not engaged in against any council species for over a century. That's not an option, Chen said firmly. We've worked too hard for peace. Ro finally spoke, his voice calm but authoritative. Peace through strength, Ambassador. Sometimes the threat of force achieves more than any negotiation. Is that what you're advocating, Colonel? Threatening the Council? Chen's voice was sharp. I'm advocating for Earth's interests. Ro replied evenly. By any means necessary. The tension in the room was palpable. Ro knew his words carried weight beyond what the others understood, except perhaps for Chen, who as ambassador was one of the few civilians aware that Earth possessed some form of military contingency, though even she didn't know the full extent of the Eclipse's capabilities. This meeting is adjourned, Chen announced. We'll reconvene tomorrow to prepare our final position. As the others filed out, Chen gestured for Ro to remain behind. Walk with me, Colonel, she said once they were alone. They moved to the embassy's observation deck, a transparent dome offering a spectacular view of the sprawling council station and the stars beyond. Chen waited until the privacy field hummed to life around them. How bad would it be, she asked quietly, if we had to use our insurance policy? Ro gazed out at the stars. It would change everything, not just for the Council, but for humanity. For better or worse. That would depend on your definition of better, Ro replied. But once that line is crossed, Ambassador, there's no going back. The Eclipse isn't just a weapon, it's an extinction-level event waiting to happen. Chen nodded slowly. Let's hope it never comes to that. But as Ro looked out at the vast station housing the Stellar Council, the supposed pinnacle of interspecies cooperation, he couldn't shake the feeling that hope was running dangerously thin. The following day brought new tensions. Word had spread through the Council of Earth's opposition to the resource allocation proposal, and the human delegation found themselves increasingly isolated in the station's communal areas. Ro was reviewing security protocols in his quarters when Dr. Nix requested entry. She appeared agitated, her usual composed demeanor replaced with visible concern. Dr. Nix, he greeted her. What can I do for you? I've been analyzing the full proposal, she said, activating her holographic display. It's worse than we thought. The resource restrictions aren't just about quantum fuel. They're systematically targeting every resource crucial to human expansion. She highlighted various sections of the document. Reduced helium-3 extraction rights, limitations on terraforming technology, restrictions on AI development. This isn't a reallocation. Colonel, it's containment. Ro studied the data, his expression darkening. They're afraid of us. But why now? We've been model council members for 2 centuries. Perhaps that's exactly why. Ro mused. 200 years ago, we were newcomers, barely able to maintain our handful of colony worlds. Now we're expanding faster than any species since the Arcturians. Success breeds envy, Doctor, and envy breeds fear. Nix deactivated the display. Ambassador Chen needs to see this. We can't possibly agree to these terms. The ambassador is aware, Ro said, surprising her. But her options are limited. A formal protest would only isolate us further. Then what do we do? Ro considered his next words carefully. We prepare for all contingencies. Doctor, that's all we can do. After she left, Ro secured his quarters and activated his quantum communicator, a direct link to Earth's Defense Council that bypassed all standard communication channels. This is Ro, he said when the connection was established. Authorization Omega 735. Authorization confirmed, came the response. Report. Colonel. The situation is deteriorating faster than anticipated. The resource proposal is more extensive than initially reported. I believe this is a coordinated effort to curtail human expansion. There was a pause before the response came. "Your recommendation?" Ro took a deep breath. "Bring the Eclipse to standby status. Position it within rapid deployment range of the Council station." Another, longer pause. "Understood. Eclipse will be on standby within 36 hours. Defense Council out." Ro stared at the silent communicator for a long moment. He had just set in motion events that could potentially lead to interstellar war. Yet he felt no regret, only a grim determination to protect humanity's future, whatever the cost. The day of the vote arrived with a tension that seemed to permeate the entire station. The Grand Council chamber was filled to capacity, with representatives from all 53 member species present. Ro stood behind Ambassador Chen as the proceedings began. The Arcturian High Speaker, Zarek, addressed the assembly. Esteemed representatives of the Stellar Council, the translator rendered his clicking speech. Today we vote on Proposal 24527 regarding the equitable distribution of critical resources among our member worlds. The Allocation Committee has spent 3 standard years developing this proposal to ensure fair access for all civilizations. Chen leaned back slightly. "Fair for some more than others," she whispered, and Ro nodded imperceptibly. The debate lasted hours, with various representatives speaking for or against different aspects of the proposal. When it was Earth's turn, Chen rose with dignity. "The proposal before us today," she began, "is presented as a matter of equity. But I must ask, what is equitable about reducing the resource rights of a civilization that has consistently adhered to every council regulation? What is fair about limiting the growth of a species that has contributed significant technological and cultural advancements to our shared community?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber as Chen continued, her voice growing stronger. "Earth and her colonies have been loyal council members for 2 centuries. We have shared our medical breakthroughs, our artistic achievements, our scientific discoveries. And now, we are being asked to accept restrictions that would effectively end our expansion for the next 50 years. The Rigelian representative interrupted. "Ambassador Chen overstates the impact. The proposal merely redistributes resources to benefit developing worlds." "At Earth's expense," Chen countered. "The proposal reduces our allocations by amounts that far exceed any other established civilization's reductions." The debate grew heated, with various factions taking sides. Ro observed it all with a detached, professional interest, noting which species supported Earth's position and which opposed it. The information would be valuable if, when, the situation escalated. Finally, the time for voting arrived. One by one, representatives registered their positions. As the tally grew, it became increasingly clear that the proposal would pass. When the final vote was tallied, the result was 37 in favor, 16 opposed. Proposal 24507 had passed. Chen's face remained diplomatically neutral, but Ro could see the tension in her shoulders. As the chamber began to empty, he received an urgent message on his secure communicator. "Sir," came the voice of Lieutenant Hoshi, his security officer. "We've detected unauthorized access to Earth's secure databases. Someone's been probing our military files." Ro's blood ran cold. "Isolate the breach. Full containment protocols." "Already done, sir. But they were looking for something specific. Files related to deep space installations." "The Eclipse?" Someone was looking for the Eclipse. "I'll be right there," Ro said, then turned to Chen. "Ambassador, we have a security situation. I need to attend to it immediately." Chen nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Go. I'll handle the diplomatic fallout from the vote." Ro made his way quickly through the station's corridors to Earth's Secure Communications Center. Lieutenant Hoshi and a team of cybersecurity specialists were already working when he arrived. "Report," he demanded. The breach originated from within the Council's own systems, Hoshi explained, bringing up a display of the attack pattern. Sophisticated. They were searching specifically for information on unregistered military installations. Do we know who? Not definitively, but the code structure resembles Proximan encryption patterns. Rowe's jaw tightened. The Proximans, Earth's main competitors for the reduced resources, were known for their advanced cyber capabilities. Were they successful? No, sir. Our firewalls held, but the fact that they knew to look for unregistered installations is concerning. The Eclipse's existence is classified at the highest level. Which means we have a leak, Rowe concluded grimly. Or they're fishing based on suspicions. There's more, sir, Hoshi said hesitantly. We've been monitoring Council communications since the vote. There's been an unusual amount of encrypted traffic between the Proximan, Arcturian, and Regelian delegations. The main proponents of the resource proposal, Rowe noted. Yes, sir, and we've detected increased activity around several military outposts in those systems, ship movements, resource reallocations. They're preparing for something, Rowe said, the pieces falling into place. The vote was just the first step. He made a decision. Maintain surveillance, report any further suspicious activity directly to me, and prepare our shuttle for emergency departure if necessary. As Rowe left the communications center, he received another alert, this one from his quantum communicator. The Defense Council was requesting an immediate update. Finding a secure location, he established the connection. The Eclipse is in position. Colonel, came the terse message. Awaiting your assessment. The resource proposal passed, Rowe reported. And we've detected a security breach targeting information about our deep space installations, possibly Proximan in origin. I believe they suspect the existence of the Eclipse. That complicates matters. Your recommendation? Rowe hesitated only briefly. Maintain current alert status, but prepare for potential escalation. If they're searching for the Eclipse, they may be planning something that would justify its use. Understood. Defense Council out. That evening, an emergency meeting of Earth's delegation was called. Ambassador Chen looked grave as she addressed the assembled team. I've just come from a private meeting with the Council Inner Circle, she said. They've added a new provision to the resource allocation proposal, one that wasn't included in the public vote. They can't do that, objected one of the diplomatic staff. It violates Council procedure. They're claiming emergency powers under Statute 15, Chen replied. The provision requires all member species to submit to a full accounting and inspection of their military assets within the next 30 days. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. If Earth complied, the Eclipse would be discovered. If Earth refused, it would be in violation of Council law. This isn't about resources anymore, Dr. Nix said quietly. This is about control. Specifically, control of humanity. Rowe added, the question is, why now? What's changed that they suddenly see us as a threat that needs to be contained? Chen's expression was troubled. Perhaps nothing has changed except their perception. Our expansion rate over the last decade has exceeded projections. Our technological development has accelerated. From their perspective, we may appear to be a civilization on the verge of challenging the established order. And are we? Commander Thorne asked, looking directly at Rowe. Before Rowe could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the station. The emergency communication system activated. Attention all personnel, came the automated voice. Security breach in Sector 7. All non-security personnel are ordered to remain in their current locations. This is not a drill. Sector 7, Hoshi said, checking his datapad. That's where our secure servers are located. Rowe was already moving. Thorne, with me. The rest of you. Stay here and secure the ambassador." Rowe and Thorne raced through the corridors, their military training allowing them to move efficiently despite the chaos of station personnel seeking shelter. When they reached Sector 7, they found the security doors sealed and Council security forces in position. A Rigelian security officer blocked their path. "This area is restricted. Earth representatives." "Those are our facilities," Rowe countered. "We have every right to access them." "Not during a security lockdown," the officer replied. "Council security has jurisdiction." Rowe's hand instinctively moved toward his sidearm, but Thorne subtly restrained him. A confrontation now would only escalate matters. "Under whose authority was this lockdown initiated?" Rowe demanded. "The High Security Council. They received intelligence regarding unauthorized weapons technology in Earth's possession." Rowe's mind raced. This was a coordinated move. The vote, the new provision, and now this security breach. They were systematically boxing Earth into a corner. "We'll take this to the ambassador," Thorne said, pulling Rowe away. Once out of earshot, Rowe activated his communicator. "Hoshi, what's happening in Sector 7? "They're copying our databases, sir," came the strained reply. "I've activated the emergency purge protocols, but they've already accessed some of our files." "The Eclipse?" "Unknown, sir, but they're being thorough." Rowe made a decision. "Initiate Protocol Omega. Full system purge. Immediately." "Sir, that will destroy all our data on the station." "Do it now, Lieutenant. That's an order." "Yes, sir. Protocol Omega initiated." Rowe turned to Thorne. "We need to get back to the ambassador. Things are about to get complicated." When they returned to the delegation's quarters, they found Chen in a heated discussion with Zarek, the Arcturian representative. "This is an outrageous violation of diplomatic protocol," Chen was saying. "You have no right to access our secure facilities without proper authorization." The authorization came from the highest level, Ambassador. Zarek replied calmly. "We have evidence that Earth has been developing prohibited weapons technology in violation of Council Treaty 89. "What evidence?" Chen demanded. "That is classified at present, but rest assured, it will be presented at the Emergency Council session tomorrow." After Zarek left, Chen turned to Rowe. "What's really going on, Colonel?" Rowe glanced at the others present. "Ambassador, I need to speak with you privately." Once they were alone, Rowe spoke frankly. "They're looking for the Eclipse. I don't know how much they know, but they're systematically targeting our most secure systems." "Did they find anything?" "No. I ordered a complete purge, but this goes beyond a simple security breach. Ambassador, this is a coordinated effort to force our hand." Chen paced the room. "First the resource restrictions, then the military inspection provision. Now this. They're isolating us, step by step." "The question is why," Rowe said. "What are they afraid of?" "Perhaps it's not what they're afraid of, but what they're planning," Chen suggested. "If they intend to take action against Earth, they'd want to neutralize our defenses first." The thought had occurred to Rowe as well. "We need to be prepared for that possibility." "What are you suggesting, Colonel?" "That we consider activating the Eclipse, not to use it, but to have it ready." Chen's expression was grave. "That's a significant escalation." "So is what they're doing," Rowe countered. "Ambassador, I've served in Earth's defense forces for 30 years. I've never advocated for military action against the Council, but right now, I believe we're facing a genuine threat to our sovereignty and possibly our survival." After a long moment, Chen nodded. "Make the necessary preparations. But the Eclipse remains our absolute last resort." "Understood, Ambassador." That night, as the station's lighting dimmed to simulate night cycle, Rowe received an unexpected visitor. Dr. Ava Nix requested entry to his quarters, her expression urgent. "Doctor," he greeted her, "it's late." "I know. "And I apologize for the intrusion," she said, stepping inside once he permitted her entry. "But I've discovered something you need to see immediately." She activated her holographic display, showing what appeared to be a star chart. "I've been analyzing the resource allocation patterns in the new proposal, not just what they're taking from us, but where those resources are being redirected." The display zoomed in on a section of space near the galactic core. 80% of the quantum fuel being diverted from Earth is being allocated to this region. It's supposedly for developing new colony worlds for the Proximans, but I cross-referenced with astronomical surveys. The display shifted, showing a different set of data. There's nothing there that would support conventional colonies. No habitable planets. No resource-rich asteroids. But there is this. The display highlighted a strange anomaly in space, a region where the stars seemed distorted. A spatial fold. Rowe recognized immediately. Natural or artificial? "Artificial," Nix confirmed. "And massive, large enough to conceal an entire fleet." Rowe's military training kicked in, analyzing the strategic implications. "They're building up forces in secret. The resources aren't for colonies. They're for warships." "Exactly. And based on the quantum fuel requirements, we're talking about a significant military buildup, possibly the largest in Council history." "Do you have any idea when this began?" Nix nodded. "I backtracked through historical allocation records. The pattern started approximately 5 years ago, shortly after Earth announced its expansion plans for the Tau Ceti sector. The pieces were falling into place. They see us as a threat, so they're preparing to eliminate that threat. And now they're accelerating their plans." "What do we do?" Nix asked, her scientific detachment giving way to genuine concern. "I need to get this information to Ambassador Chen and the Defense Council immediately," Rowe said. "And Doctor, this conversation never happened. For your own safety." After Nix left, Rowe transmitted the data to Earth via his quantum communicator, along with his assessment of the situation. The response came swiftly. Eclipse standing by at full operational status. Awaiting your command code. Colonel, Defense Council authorizes activation at your discretion based on conditions at the Council station. The weight of that authorization settled heavily on Rowe's shoulders. The power to potentially trigger an interstellar war now rested in his hands alone. The emergency council session the next day was tense from the moment it began. The chamber, normally filled with representatives from all member species, was noticeably less crowded. Several of Earth's traditional allies were conspicuously absent. Zarek, acting as session chair, opened the proceedings. "This emergency session has been called to address serious allegations against Earth regarding violations of Treaty 89, specifically the development and concealment of prohibited weapons technology." Ambassador Chen stood to object. "These allegations are baseless. Earth demands to see the evidence against us before any proceedings continue." "The evidence will be presented in due course," Zarek replied smoothly. "But first, the Council puts forth a motion requiring Earth to submit to an immediate and comprehensive inspection of all its military installations, both within Council space and beyond." Voices rose in support of the motion from the Proximan, Rigelian, and several other delegations. Chen fought to maintain diplomatic composure. "Earth rejects this motion as a violation of our sovereignty rights under Council Charter Article 5, she stated firmly. No member civilization can be compelled to submit to military inspections without specific evidence of treaty violations, which has not been presented. The Proximan representative, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin, rose to speak. Perhaps Earth would be more cooperative if they understood the seriousness of the situation. We have evidence that humanity has constructed a warship of unprecedented destructive capability and hidden it in uncharted space, in direct violation of multiple treaties. A murmur ran through the chamber. Ro, standing behind Chen, kept his expression carefully neutral, but internally he was calculating how the Proximants could have learned about the eclipse. "This is absurd," Chen responded. "Earth has no such vessel." "Then you should have no objection to proving that through inspection," the Proximant countered. As the debate continued, Ro received an urgent message from Lieutenant Hoshi. "Sir, we've detected multiple ships departing from the spatial anomaly Dr. Nix identified. Their trajectory suggests they're heading toward Earth's colonies in the Tau Ceti sector." Ro's decision was immediate. He leaned forward to whisper in Chen's ear, "Ambassador, we need to leave. Now." Chen glanced at him, reading the urgency in his eyes, then addressed the council. "Earth requests a recess to consult with our government regarding these serious allegations." "Denied," Zarek said flatly. "This session will continue until the matter is resolved." It was the confirmation Ro needed. This wasn't a legitimate council proceeding. It was a detention operation designed to keep Earth's representatives occupied while their real plan unfolded. He pressed a small device in his pocket, a signal to Earth's security team stationed throughout the council facility. Within moments, alarms began blaring as several carefully orchestrated malfunctions occurred in different sections of the station. In the confusion, Ro led Chen and the rest of the Earth delegation toward their docking bay. They encountered resistance from Council security forces, but Earth's military personnel were prepared, creating diversions and clearing paths. "What's happening, Colonel?" Chen demanded as they raced through the corridors. "They're moving against our colonies," Ro explained tersely. "This entire proceeding was a distraction to keep us here while they launched their attack." "You can't know that for certain." "I can, Ambassador." Dr. Nix discovered their fleet hiding in a spatial fold near the galactic core. "They're already on the move toward Tau Ceti." Chen's face paled. "The civilian populations." "Exactly. We need to get back to Earth immediately." They reached the docking bay to find it already secured by Earth's forces. Their diplomatic shuttle was prepped and ready for immediate departure. "Ambassador Chen," Zarek's voice came over the station's communication system. "Attempting to leave the station during an emergency lockdown is a violation of Council security protocols. Return to the Council chamber immediately." Chen looked to Ro, who shook his head. "It's a trap, Ambassador. They never intended to let us leave." After a moment's hesitation, Chen nodded. "Get us out of here, Colonel." The shuttle departed under emergency protocols, bypassing standard departure procedures. As they cleared the station, multiple Council vessels moved to intercept them. "They're powering weapons," reported the shuttle's pilot. "Evasive maneuvers," Ro ordered, "and prepare the quantum jump drive." "Sir, we don't have a clear jump path." "Just do it, Lieutenant." As the Council ships closed in, the shuttle's jump drive engaged, propelling them into quantum space in a maneuver that violated all safety protocols, but successfully evaded their pursuers. Once they were safely in transit to Earth, Ro gathered the delegation in the shuttle's main cabin. "I believe we're facing a coordinated attack on humanity," he said bluntly. "The evidence suggests that several Council species, led by the Proximants, Arcturians, and Rigelians, have been planning this for years. The resource allocation vote was just the final step in isolating us before they strike." "What do they hope to gain?" asked one of the diplomatic staff. "Control of our expansion territories, elimination of a perceived future threat, access to Earth's resources." Ro listed, "Take your pick. The question now is how we respond." All eyes turned to Ambassador Chen. After a moment of thought, she spoke with resolve. "Our first priority is the defense of our colonies. Colonel Ro, you're authorized to coordinate with Earth Defense Command to mobilize our fleet." And the eclipse? Ro asked quietly. Chen's eyes met his. If our intelligence confirms an attack on our colonies, then yes, the eclipse is authorized. The quantum jump to Earth took several hours, during which Ro received continuous updates from Defense Command. The news was grim. The Proximan fleet had emerged from quantum space near New Terra, Earth's largest colony in the Tau Ceti system, and had begun orbital bombardment without warning or declaration of war. By the time they reached Earth, the situation had deteriorated further. New Terra's orbital defenses had been overwhelmed, and ground attacks had begun. 2 smaller colonies in the system had already fallen. Casualties were estimated in the hundreds of thousands. Earth's Defense Council was in emergency session when Ro arrived. The chamber was filled with military and civilian leaders, their faces grave. Colonel Ro acknowledged Admiral Ishida, the head of the council. Your assessment of the situation? This is a premeditated attack, coordinated at the highest levels of the Stellar Council. Ro stated, we believe their goal is to cripple human expansion and possibly force Earth into a subordinate position within the council structure. And their military capabilities? Based on the data we've gathered, they've been building up forces in secret for years. Their fleet in the Tau Ceti system alone outnumbers our defenses 3-1, and we have reason to believe this is just the first wave. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth's regular fleet, while substantial, was no match for a combined force of multiple council species. What are our options? Asked President Alvarez, who had joined the session remotely. Admiral Ishida looked to Ro. Colonel, you've been our eyes and ears in the council. What do you recommend? All eyes turned to Ro. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on him as he considered his response. We have 3 options, he said finally. First, diplomatic surrender. We agree to the council's terms, withdraw from our expansion territories, and accept whatever punishment they deem appropriate for our alleged treaty violations. Unacceptable, several voices said at once. Second, conventional military response. We deploy our entire fleet to Tau Ceti and attempt to drive back the attackers. Given their numbers, this would likely result in significant losses and ultimate defeat, but it would buy time for potential evacuation of remaining colonies. And the third option? President Alvarez asked, though everyone in the room already knew. We deploy the Eclipse, Ro said, his voice steady. It has the capability to turn the tide, but using it would fundamentally alter our relationship with the Council and possibly trigger an all-out interstellar war. The Eclipse was created for exactly this scenario. Admiral Ishida noted, a last resort to protect humanity against existential threats. Yes, Ro agreed, but we need to be clear about what that means. The Eclipse isn't just a powerful warship. It's a weapon that could potentially destroy entire civilizations. Once deployed, there's no going back. President Alvarez's voice came through the communication system. The reports from New Terra indicate systematic targeting of civilian population centers. This isn't a limited military action. It's an attempt to break humanity's will through mass casualties. She paused, then continued with resolve. I am authorizing the deployment of the Eclipse to the Tau Ceti system, with Colonel Ro in command. Your primary objective is to stop the attack and protect our remaining colonies. Minimize casualties where possible. But the survival of our people takes priority. Understood, Madam President, Ro acknowledged, feeling the burden of command settling onto his shoulders. Within hours, Ro was aboard a quantum transport heading to the Eclipse's hidden location in deep space. The massive vessel had been concealed in a carefully constructed pocket dimension, accessible only through specific quantum coordinates known to a handful of individuals. As the transport emerged from quantum space, Ro got his first direct view of the Eclipse in years. The The warship was unlike any other vessel in humanity's fleet, or indeed, any known vessel in the galaxy. Its dark hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving it a shadowy, almost ethereal appearance despite its enormous size. The transport docked, and Ro made his way to the command center, where the Eclipse's crew, a select group of Earth's most capable military personnel, awaited their commander. "Colonel on deck," announced the first officer, and the crew snapped to attention. "At ease," Ro said, moving to the command chair. "Status report." "The Eclipse is at full operational readiness, sir," reported Commander Kyoko Tanaka, his executive officer. "All systems functional. Crew at battle stations." "And our special systems?" "The quantum displacement array is fully charged. The phase cannons are online. The temporal shielding is active." Ro nodded grimly. "Set course for the Tau Ceti system. Maximum quantum velocity. We'll emerge directly into the combat zone." "Sir," Tanaka said hesitantly, "the crew should be informed of our mission parameters." Ro looked around at the faces of his crew, men and women who had trained for years for a day they hoped would never come. They deserved to know what they were about to undertake. "We are responding to an unprovoked attack on our colonies in the Tau Ceti system," he told them. "Multiple council species, led by the Proximans, have launched a coordinated assault against civilian targets. New Terra is under heavy bombardment, and 2 smaller colonies have already fallen." He let that sink in before continuing. "Our mission is to stop the attack and protect our people. The Eclipse was built for this moment, to ensure that humanity would never be defenseless against superior forces. Today, we fulfill that purpose." "Will we be revealing the Eclipse's full capabilities, sir?" asked Lieutenant Commander Raj Singh, the weapons officer. "If necessary, yes," Ro confirmed. "But our primary goal is to end the conflict quickly, with minimal loss of life on both sides if possible. The Eclipse's mere presence may be enough to force a withdrawal." "And if it isn't?" Tanaka asked. Ro's expression was resolute. "Then we show them exactly why humanity is not to be trifled with." The journey to Tau Ceti took less than 6 hours, a testament to the Eclipse's advanced propulsion systems. As they prepared to emerge from quantum space, Ro received a final update from Earth. The situation had worsened. New Terra's last major city was under direct assault, and the death toll had risen to over 1 million. "Prepare for quantum emergence," Ro ordered. "Activate stealth systems and defensive arrays immediately." The Eclipse slipped back into normal space at the edge of the Tau Ceti system, its advanced stealth technology rendering it virtually invisible to conventional sensors. Through the ship's enhanced visualization systems, Ro could see the battle raging around New Terra. The planet's once beautiful blue-green surface was now marred by massive impact craters and the fires of burning cities. "Sensor analysis," Ro commanded. 27 Proximan warships, 15 Arcturian cruisers, and 12 Rigelian destroyers in orbit around New Terra, reported the sensor officer. "Additional forces around the other colonies. Earth's defensive fleet has been reduced to 7 operational vessels, currently in retreat to the far side of the planet." "Life signs on the surface?" "Approximately 12 million, concentrated in the southern continent. Orbital bombardment is ongoing in the northern regions." Ro's jaw tightened. "Open a channel to the Proximan flagship." "Channel open, sir." "This is Colonel Ethan Ro of Earth Defense Command," he began, his voice steady but authoritative. "You are engaged in an unprovoked attack against civilian populations in violation of all Council War conventions. Cease your assault immediately and withdraw from the Tau Ceti system." There was a pause before a response came. "This is Supreme Commander Vex Allah of the Proximan Expeditionary Force. Your colonies are in violation of resource allocation treaties. We are merely enforcing Council mandates. By slaughtering civilians, withdraw your forces immediately or face the consequences." A dismissive laugh came over the channel. "With what force, Colonel? Your fleet is destroyed. Earth is hours away. There are no consequences to face." "You're wrong," Rose said simply. "Deactivate stealth systems. Let them see us." The Eclipse's stealth field dropped, revealing the massive warship hovering at the edge of the system. Even at a distance, its size and unusual configuration were immediately apparent. There was a long silence from the Proximan commander. When he spoke again, his tone had changed. "What is that vessel? It doesn't match any known Earth ship design." "This is the EDS Eclipse," Rowe informed him. "A warship that humanity hoped never to use. I'll give you one last chance. Withdraw your forces, or we will be forced to respond with all necessary force." "You're bluffing," Vexala replied, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "One ship, no matter how large, cannot stand against our combined fleet." "Shall we test that theory? Target the Proximan flagship. Phase cannons at 20% power." The Eclipse's primary weapons system activated, energy building visibly along the ship's forward sections. The phase cannons were unlike any conventional weapon, designed to shift the quantum state of their target, effectively erasing it from existence. "Fire," Rowe ordered. A beam of intense blue-white energy lanced out from the Eclipse, striking the Proximan flagship. The massive vessel didn't explode or break apart. It simply ceased to exist. Its matter converted to energy that briefly illuminated the space where it had been. Stunned silence filled the command center. Despite years of training, seeing the weapon's effect was sobering. An entire warship gone in an instant. "Open a channel to all enemy vessels," Rowe commanded, his voice tight. "Channel open, sir." "This is Colonel Rowe. That was 20% of one weapon system. The Eclipse carries multiple such systems, all capable of similar effects. I will say this one final time. Withdraw immediately, or be destroyed." The response was immediate. The remaining ships began powering up their engines, preparing to retreat. But before they could depart, a new transmission came through, this one from the Arcturian command ship. "This is High Commander Zarek," came the familiar voice. "Colonel Rowe, the existence of such a weapon is a direct violation of Treaty 89 and constitutes a threat to all Council species. Stand down your vessel immediately or face the combined might of the Stellar Council." Rowe's eyes narrowed. Zarek's presence confirmed his suspicions about Arcturian involvement in the plot against Earth. "You launched an unprovoked attack against our colonies, targeting civilians," Rowe responded. "You forfeited any right to cite Council treaties. The Eclipse will remain active until all hostile forces have withdrawn from human space." "You leave us no choice," Zarek replied. "All vessels, converge on the Earthship." The enemy fleet changed course, moving away from New Terra and toward the Eclipse. It was a desperate gambit. They hoped to overwhelm the single vessel through sheer numbers. "They're forming attack formations," reported the tactical officer. "Weapons powering up across all ships." Rowe had hoped to avoid further bloodshed, but the enemy commanders had made their decision. "Activate the quantum displacement array. Target the center of their formation." "Sir," Tanaka said quietly. "At this range, that will affect all of their ships." "I know, Commander, but they've made their choice. We can't allow them to regroup and continue their assault." The Eclipse's most powerful weapon system began to charge, a device that manipulated the quantum fabric of space itself, creating a localized distortion that would tear apart anything caught within its effect radius. "Array charged." "Sir," reported Singh. "Target locked." Rowe took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. Not just for this battle, but for humanity's place in the galaxy. Fire. The quantum displacement array activated, sending out a pulse of energy that appeared to bend the very light around it. When it reached the center of the enemy formation, space itself seemed to fold and distort. Ships caught in the effect were twisted, stretched, and then simply ceased to exist as the fabric of reality temporarily rewrote itself in that region. When the effect dissipated, over 30 enemy vessels had vanished. The remaining ships, many damaged by the peripheral effects of the weapon, were in disarray. "Target the Arcturian command ship," Rowe ordered. "Phase cannons, minimum power, disable only." The phase cannons fired again, this time with precision targeting that disabled the Arcturian vessel's propulsion and weapon systems without destroying it. "Open a channel to Commander Zarek." Zarek's face appeared on the screen, his chitinous features contorted with what Rowe recognized as fear. "This is your final warning," Rowe told him. "Order all remaining forces to withdraw from human space immediately. Any vessel that remains will be destroyed." Zarek's mandibles clicked rapidly before his translator converted his speech. You've doomed us all, human. The Council will never allow such a weapon to exist." "The Council started this conflict," Rowe countered. "We're finishing it. Make your choice, Commander." After a moment's hesitation, Zarek gave the order. The remaining enemy ships began retreating, jumping to quantum space as soon as they cleared the system's gravity well. "Sir," Tanaka reported, "all hostile vessels are withdrawing or disabled. New Terra is secure." A cheer went up from the crew, but Rowe remained somber. Victory had come at a terrible cost, not just in lives lost on the colonies, but in what it meant for humanity's future. The eclipse had been revealed, and with it, Earth's ultimate deterrent was now known to the galaxy. "Contact Earth," he ordered. "Inform them that the immediate threat has been neutralized, and prepare to receive Ambassador Chen aboard. We'll need to discuss our next steps." Hours later, as the eclipse maintained position over New Terra to ensure no enemy forces returned, Ambassador Chen arrived via shuttle. Rowe met her in the ship's conference room, where displays showed the ongoing relief efforts on the planet below. "The casualty reports are still coming in," Chen said without preamble. "Current estimates are at 1.7 million dead, with many more injured or missing." "And the other colonies?" New Helena was largely evacuated before its defenses fell. Aurora Station was completely destroyed. 5,000 personnel lost. Rowe closed his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of those losses. "The enemy fleet. What remains of it has retreated to Proxima space, but we're receiving reports of increased military activity throughout Council territories. This isn't over." "Colonel." "No," Rowe agreed. "It's just beginning." Chen studied the displays showing the eclipse's systems. "I never truly understood what this ship was capable of until today. The quantum displacement technology alone. It's beyond anything I thought possible." "That was the point," Rowe said. "To create a deterrent so powerful that no one would dare attack us if they knew of its existence." "But they didn't know," Chen pointed out. "And now that they do, the question becomes, what happens next?" Rowe had been considering that question since the moment he'd given the order to reveal the eclipse. "The Council will try to label us as the aggressors. They'll claim we violated treaties by building the eclipse, despite the fact that they launched an unprovoked attack against our colonies. And they'll demand we surrender the ship, or at least submit to restrictions on its use." "Which we cannot do," Rowe said firmly. "Not after what's happened. The eclipse is our only guarantee against future attacks." Chen nodded slowly. "I agree. But this changes everything about our position in the galaxy. The balance of power has shifted fundamentally. For better or worse." Rowe echoed their earlier conversation. I've been authorized by the President to open direct negotiations with the remaining Council leadership. Chen informed him, not to surrender or apologize, but to establish new terms for human participation in galactic affairs. Negotiating from a position of strength for the first time, Rowe noted. Exactly. The eclipse has given us that opportunity. The question is how we use it. Rowe gestured to a star chart displaying the known galaxy. We don't want war, Ambassador. Despite what happened here, despite what the eclipse is capable of, its purpose was always deterrence, not conquest. Then what do we want? Security, independence, the right to expand and develop without arbitrary restrictions imposed by species that fear our potential. Chen considered this. A reasonable position. But will the Council see it that way? They don't have much choice now. The eclipse has changed the equation. They know we have the power to defend ourselves, perhaps even to defeat them if pressed. That gives us leverage we've never had before. And if they refuse to negotiate? If they decide that humanity and the eclipse are too dangerous to allow? Rowe's expression hardened. Then we'll be ready. The eclipse isn't our only asset, just our most powerful one. Earth has been preparing for various contingencies for decades. Chen sighed. I had hoped that my career would be spent building bridges between species, not preparing for war between them. Peace is still possible, Ambassador, Rowe assured her. But it must be peace based on mutual respect, not the subservience the Council tried to force upon us. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. President Alvarez appeared on the main display. Ambassador, Colonel, she greeted them. We've received a transmission from the Stellar Council. They've called an emergency session to address what they're calling Earth's act of war against Council forces. Will you attend, Madam President? Chen asked. No, I'm sending you Ambassador Chen, with Colonel Rowe as your military advisor. The eclipse will transport you directly to the Council station. Its presence there should emphasize our position. Rowe and Chen exchanged glances. Bringing the eclipse to the very heart of the Council would be a bold statement, perhaps too bold. Madam President, Rowe said carefully, while I understand the strategic value of such a display, it could be perceived as an explicit threat. That's precisely what it is. Colonel, Alvarez replied, the Council needs to understand that the days of treating humanity as a second-class civilization are over. We won't fire the first shot, but we will demonstrate our capability to respond, if provoked again. Very well, Madam President, Chen acquiesced. We'll depart for the Council station immediately. After the transmission ended, Rowe ordered the eclipse to prepare for the journey to the Council station. As the massive warship entered quantum space, he found himself contemplating the profound changes that had occurred in just a few short days. The eclipse, humanity's hidden guardian, was now revealed to the galaxy. The Stellar Council, once thought to be the pinnacle of interspecies cooperation, had been exposed as a structure of power and control. And humanity, long content to play by the Council's rules, had demonstrated its willingness to fight for its independence. Whatever happened at the Council session, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The journey to the Council station took less than a day, thanks to the eclipse's advanced propulsion systems. As they prepared to emerge from quantum space, Rowe gathered with Chen and a small diplomatic team to discuss their approach. We should expect significant resistance to our presence, Chen warned, both diplomatic and possibly military. The eclipse can handle any military response, Rowe assured her. But I agree. Our goal should be de-escalation while maintaining our position of strength. What exactly are our demands? Asked Dr. Nix, who had joined them as a scientific advisor. 3 primary points: Chen replied. First, immediate cessation of all hostilities against human territories and recognition of our right to self-defense. Second, a formal investigation into the conspiracy that led to the attack on our colonies, with appropriate consequences for those responsible. And third, a renegotiation of resource allocation that respects Earth's needs and expansion rights. They won't agree easily, Rowe noted, especially not with the eclipse hovering over their station. They don't have to like it, Chen said firmly. They just have to accept it. The alternative is the collapse of the council system entirely. The eclipse emerged from quantum space near the council station, maintaining a respectful but visible distance. Almost immediately, they received a transmission from the station. "Unidentified vessel," came the official council voice. "You have entered restricted space without authorization. Identify yourself and state your purpose." "This is Ambassador Elena Chen of Earth." Chen responded. "I am accompanied by Colonel Ethan Rowe aboard the Earth defense ship Eclipse. We are here at the invitation of the Stellar Council for the emergency session regarding recent events in the Tau Ceti system." There was a long pause before the response came. "Stand by, Ambassador." While they waited, Rowe monitored the station's defensive systems, which had gone to full alert upon their arrival. Several Council military vessels were also moving to intercept positions, though they maintained their distance from the eclipse. Finally, a new voice came through, one Rowe recognized as belonging to the Centaurian Arbiter, one of the few Council species that had remained neutral in the conflict. "Ambassador Chen, Colonel Rowe, this is Arbiter Xanthor. The Council acknowledges your arrival and the presence of your vessel. However, we must insist that you dock using a standard shuttle. The Eclipse must remain at its current position." Chen looked to Rowe, who nodded. "We accept those terms, Arbiter. We will dock within the hour." As preparations were made for their shuttle departure, Rowe gave final instructions to Commander Tanaka, who would remain in command of the Eclipse. "Maintain defensive posture only," he ordered. "Do not fire unless fired upon. And even then, use minimum force necessary. Our goal is resolution, not escalation." "Understood, sir," Tanaka acknowledged. "And if the negotiations fail?" Rowe's expression was grim. "Then be prepared to extract us quickly. The Eclipse's primary directive remains the defense of humanity, by any means necessary." The shuttle journey to the Council station was tense. As they approached, Rowe could see that security had been significantly increased since their hasty departure days before. Armed vessels patrolled the docking areas, and security checkpoints had been established throughout the station. When they docked, they were met by a contingent of Council security officers led by a Centaurian official. "Ambassador, Colonel." The official greeted them with formal politeness. "I am Supervisor Thalra. I will escort you to the Council chamber. For security reasons, your party will be limited to 5 individuals." Chen nodded. "Myself, Colonel Rowe, Dr. Nix, and 2 security officers. That should be sufficient." As they made their way through the station, Rowe noticed the reactions of the various species they passed. Some showed fear, others anger, and a few, particularly representatives of smaller, less influential species, showed what appeared to be respect or even admiration. The news of the Eclipse and its capabilities had clearly spread throughout the galactic community. Humanity, long considered a minor power in the Council hierarchy, had suddenly demonstrated its ability to challenge even the strongest civilizations. When they arrived at the Council chamber, they found it nearly full, with representatives from almost all member species present. The atmosphere was tense, with conversations falling silent as the human delegation entered. Arbiter Xanthor, a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and 4 arms, stood at the central podium. This emergency session of the Stellar Council is now in session. The matter before us is the conflict between Earth and several council member species in the Tau Ceti system, and the revelation of a previously undisclosed weapons platform of unprecedented power. Chen stepped forward to the speaker's position. Honorable Arbiter, distinguished representatives, I come before you today not to apologize, but to address a grave injustice perpetrated against humanity. 3 days ago, without provocation or declaration of war, a combined fleet from the Proximan, Arcturian, and Rigelian civilizations launched a coordinated attack against human colonies in the Tau Ceti system. She activated a holographic display showing the devastation on New Terra. The attack specifically targeted civilian population centers, resulting in nearly 2 million deaths. This was not a military action, but an attempted genocide. Protests erupted from several delegations, particularly the Proximan and Rigelian representatives. The Arcturian section was notably subdued, their senior leadership presumably still dealing with the aftermath of the battle. Arbiter Xanthor raised all 4 of his hands for silence. The Proximan representative wishes to respond. The Proximan, a different individual than Supreme Commander Vexala, but with the same iridescent skin, rose to speak. Earth's colonies in the Tau Ceti system were established in violation of resource allocation agreements. Our action was a legitimate enforcement of Council mandates. By targeting civilian populations, Chen countered incredulously. By bombarding cities from orbit, there is no Council mandate that authorizes the slaughter of innocents. The human colonies were warned to evacuate, the Proximan insisted. Any casualties are the result of their refusal to comply with legitimate Council authority. Ro stepped forward, his military bearing commanding attention. No such warning was given. Our colonies were attacked without notice, without provocation, and without mercy. These actions constitute war crimes under any reasonable definition. The Proximan representative's skin shifted colors in what Ro recognized as an expression of anger. And your response? To deploy a weapon of mass destruction that violates every arms limitation treaty Earth has signed? A weapon you deliberately concealed from the Council for years? The eclipse was created as a deterrent, Ro explained, keeping his voice level. A last resort to protect humanity against exactly the kind of existential threat we faced in Tau Ceti. Its use was proportional to the threat posed by your combined fleet. A fleet that wouldn't have been necessary if Earth had simply complied with Council directives, interjected the Rigelian representative, a heavily armored being whose metallic carapace gleamed under the chamber's lights. And what of the spatial fold near the galactic core? Chen asked, activating another holographic display showing Dr. Nix's discoveries. What of the secret fleet you've been building there for years, using resources diverted from Earth and other civilizations? Was that also about compliance with Council directives? A murmur ran through the chamber. Many of the representatives appeared surprised by this information, suggesting that the conspiracy had not included all Council species. Arbiter Xanthor studied the display with obvious concern. These allegations are serious. If true, they suggest a level of coordinated military buildup that violates the Council's founding principles. They are true, Ro confirmed. And they prove that the attack on our colonies was not an isolated incident, but part of a long-planned strategy to neutralize Earth as a potential rival. The chamber erupted in overlapping arguments and accusations. Xanthor eventually restored order, then addressed the human delegation. Ambassador Chen, Colonel Ro, regardless of the provocations you may have faced, the fact remains that Earth has now revealed a weapon of unprecedented destructive capability. The eclipse represents a threat to all civilizations in Council space. What assurances can you offer regarding its future use? Chen stepped forward again. The eclipse was built for defense, not conquest. It will never be used against any civilization that does not threaten humanity's existence. But after the events at Tau Ceti, we will not surrender it, nor will we submit to restrictions on its deployment. That is unacceptable, the Proximan representative declared. No single species can be permitted to possess such overwhelming military advantage. And yet, you and your allies felt entitled to build a secret fleet with the explicit purpose of overwhelming humanity's conventional defenses. Rowe pointed out. The eclipse merely levels the playing field. Arbiter Xanthor raised his hands again for silence. It seems we have reached an impasse. The Council cannot allow the unregulated existence of a weapon like the eclipse, yet Earth has legitimate security concerns given recent events. There is a potential compromise, suggested a new voice. It belonged to the representative of the Aldebarans, a species known for their diplomatic neutrality. Earth retains the eclipse as a deterrent, but agrees to certain operational constraints and verification protocols to ensure its defensive nature. Chen glanced at Rowe, who gave a subtle nod. Earth would consider such an arrangement, provided it includes a full investigation into the conspiracy behind the Tau Ceti attack and appropriate consequences for those responsible. The Proximan and Rigelian representatives immediately objected. But to Rowe's surprise, several other delegations voiced support for the proposal. It seemed that many Council species were uncomfortable with the actions taken against Earth's colonies, even if they had concerns about the eclipse. After hours of debate, a framework for a potential agreement began to take shape. Earth would maintain the eclipse, but would provide certain technical specifications to verify its capabilities and limitations. In return, the Council would establish an independent commission to investigate the Tau Ceti attack and the secret military buildup. Most significantly, Earth would be granted expanded resource rights and autonomy in its colonial affairs, essentially achieving through negotiation what the eclipse had made possible through force. As the session adjourned for the delegates to consult with their governments, Rowe and Chen returned to their secure quarters on the station. It's not perfect, Chen acknowledged, but it's a start. More importantly, it prevents an immediate escalation into full-scale war. For now, Rowe cautioned, but the fundamental dynamics have changed. The Council will never view humanity the same way again. Is that a bad thing? Chen asked. Perhaps it was time for a change. The old system clearly wasn't working. Not for us. And I suspect not for many of the smaller civilizations either. Rowe moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars and, in the distance, the faint outline of the eclipse maintaining its vigilant position. What bothers me, he said quietly, is that none of this had to happen. The Proximans and their allies could have approached us diplomatically. We could have negotiated resource allocations that benefited everyone. Instead, they chose violence. And now we're all living in a more dangerous galaxy. Human history suggests that significant change rarely comes without conflict. Chen observed. Perhaps galactic history follows the same pattern. Perhaps. Rowe conceded. But where do we go from here? The eclipse has been revealed, and with it, humanity's capacity for both defense and destruction. How do we use that power responsibly? Chen joined him at the viewport. The same way any civilization must use power, with restraint, wisdom, and a commitment to principles greater than mere survival. The eclipse may have turned the Stellar Council to dust, but from that dust, something new can emerge. Something better? Rowe asked. That's up to us, Chen replied, and all the other species willing to work toward a more equitable future. As they stood there, contemplating the stars and the uncertain future they represented, Ro found himself thinking of all those who had died on New Terra and the other colonies. Their sacrifice had forced a reckoning that was perhaps long overdue, a realignment of power that could, if managed wisely, lead to a more stable and just galactic order. The eclipse had been built as humanity's insurance policy, a weapon of last resort in a hostile universe. Now that it had fulfilled that purpose, the challenge would be ensuring it never needed to do so again. The negotiations continued for weeks, with progress and setbacks in equal measure. The revelation of the eclipse had fundamentally altered the balance of power within the Council, creating new alliances and fracturing old ones. Some species, particularly those that had long chafed under the dominance of the Proximans, Arcturians, and Rigelians, saw an opportunity to assert their own interests. Others feared the implications of a galaxy where planet-killing weapons could be deployed with impunity. Throughout it all, the eclipse remained in position near the Council station, a constant reminder of humanity's newfound power and the consequences of threatening its existence. Finally, after nearly a month of intense diplomacy, a new agreement was reached. The Stellar Accord, as it came to be known, recognized Earth's right to maintain the eclipse as a defensive asset, while establishing protocols to prevent its use, except in the most extreme circumstances. In return, humanity gained expanded resource rights, representation on the Council's inner circle, and guarantees against future military action. The architects of the Tau Ceti attack, including several high-ranking Proximan, Arcturian, and Rigelian officials, were removed from power and placed under interdiction. Most significantly, the Accord created a new framework for interspecies relations, one based less on historical hierarchies and more on mutual respect and shared interests. It wasn't perfect, and tensions remained, but it was a start. As Ro prepared to return to Earth aboard the Eclipse, he found Dr. Nix on the observation deck, looking out at the Council station. "Quite a view," he commented, joining her. "Quite a month," she replied with a tired smile. "When I joined this delegation, I never imagined I'd witness the restructuring of galactic politics. Few did, but perhaps it was inevitable. Systems that don't adapt eventually break." Nix turned to face him. "And what about the Eclipse? What happens to it now?" "It returns to its station, watching and waiting, a reminder of what humanity is capable of, both technically and morally." "You make it sound almost alive," Nix observed. Ro smiled faintly. "In a way, it is. Not just the ship itself, but what it represents, humanity's determination to survive, to protect its own, to shape its destiny, rather than have it dictated by others. And you? What happens to Colonel Ethan Rowe now that his secret mission has become the most famous ship in the galaxy?" "I remain its commander," Rowe said simply. "For better or worse. I understand its power better than anyone, and perhaps that knowledge will help ensure it never needs to be used again." As the Eclipse departed the Council station, setting course for Earth, Rowe stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by as they entered quantum space. The galaxy had changed, and humanity with it. The future remained uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But for now, for this moment, there was peace. A peace built not on illusions of harmony, but on the clear-eyed recognition of power and its responsible use. It wasn't the peace Ro had imagined when he first took command of the Eclipse, but perhaps it was the peace the galaxy needed. The warship that had been built in darkness had brought light, harsh and revealing, but light nonetheless. And in that light, perhaps a new and better order could take shape, one worthy of the sacrifices made to create it. As Earth appeared on the view screen, blue and beautiful against the blackness of space, Ro made a silent promise to those who had died at Tau Ceti. Their deaths would not be in vain. The eclipse had revealed the truth about the Stellar Council and turned its corrupt foundations to dust. From those ashes, something better would rise, a future where humanity stood tall among the stars, not as conquerors, but as equals deserving of respect and the right to determine their own destiny. It was a future worth fighting for, worth dying for, if necessary, but most importantly, worth living for. And as the eclipse settled into orbit around the world it had been built to protect, Ethan Rowe allowed himself to hope that the peace it had won would last long enough for that better future to be born.